Hey everyone, it's Movie Lover 120 here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review, and this movie review is going to be for none other than the sequel to the film I reviewed yesterday, the Hangover Part 2, aka basically, or as I call it, just the first film, set in a different location, like many comedy sequels seem to always do. So, let me recap this. On June 2009, The Hangover was released in cinemas. It was a massive commercial hit at the box office, both worldwide and commercially, and overseas. It even got so many great reviews from critics and comedy fans and cinemagoers, getting a 78% on Rotten Tomatoes. And of course, and was popularly talked about among all sorts of cinemagoers. It was one of the most popular movies of the year. People wouldn't stop raving about it. Then, of course, at the Golden Globes, it was nominated for Best Motion Picture in the comedy genre. So yeah, it pretty much became a massive hit and became a massive well-known staple to a new kind of revival for comedy again. So of course we all knew what that meant. It meant that meant a sequel was now going to be filmed. Thanks to the first one making so much money. We all knew that was coming. Whenever a movie makes so much money, Hollywood goes out, churns out a sequel, forgets everything that makes their predecessor great, and they just take the same movie again, set in a different location, ramp up all the dirty stuff, and you got this. That's how you get stuff like this. Pick it up later. Yeah. So in short, this sequel is a complete disappointment to the great first one. Now, I will admit, when I was in high school, I actually do still find this one better than the first one just because of how over the top it was and some of the more funnier moments I thought at the time, but rewatching it now, yeah, I can see why people like the first one better. Ugh, no wonder people don't like this sequel. So, let's get on with the plot of this movie. Well, it's been 2 years since the events of their crazy bachelor party night, which they got hungover on in the first one. And around the end of the first one, Stu had officially broken up with his rude girlfriend, Melissa. So now, 2 years later, Stu is now getting married to a new fiancée. Along with Doug, Phil, and his soon-to-be brother-in-law Teddy, he regretfully invites Alan to Thailand for the wedding. Well, kind of makes sense why he doesn't want to invite him, especially after Alan drugged their drinks with roofies in the previous film. After a quiet night on the beach with a beer and toasting marshmallows by the campfire, Stu, Alan, and Phil wake up in a seedy apartment in Bangkok. Doug is back at the resort, but Teddy is missing. There's a monkey with a severed finger. Alan's head is shaved. Stu has a tattoo on his face. A Mike Tyson tattoo, anyways. And they can't remember any of it. The wolf pack retraced their steps through some strip clubs, tattoo parlors, and cocaine-dealing monkeys, cigarette-smoking monkeys, technically, on the streets of Bangkok as they try and find Teddy before the wedding. So yeah, like I said, this is basically just the first movie, set in Thailand. So yeah, that's literally what the movie is. So the boys are back in what is basically more the same of the first film. The difference being, it's on a broader scale and the prospective brother-in-law goes missing instead of the soon-to-be married husband. So yeah. Now I'm all for a few sequels. Well, there's a few rehash sequels. There's sometimes when it does work, like 22 Jump Street and Crank High Voltage, but when it's done lazily, like films such as Beverly Hills Cop 2 and this movie, The Hangover Part 2, then something that should up the ante even a little bit and try to have a little fun with the rehashes like 22 Jump Street does. But no, instead Todd Phillips thinks it'd be better to just rehash the same movie again. Forget what made the first one work. Why people loved it so much. Because the first one was original, funny, and it hit the boundaries on new comedy. The fundamental part being original. We had characters we didn't really care about, apart from the weird one and the prostitute, which was totally anti-Apatow, and refreshing. Gone from this are the likable characters, and in are the barrel scrappings of mankind. We have this new character, this cop who doesn't seem to give a hoot about their situation, an undercover one anyways. And I remember Leslie Chow in this film. I mean the first film. Well, apparently he comes back and he's probably one of the few funniest things of the whole movie. Except for some weird reason, he's somehow now their friend, even though he technically was kind of their enemy in the first one. So that's kind of unexplained, really. How they're just suddenly friends now. And then, of course, you've got Alan, who was so funny and enjoyable to watch in the first one as well. He doesn't have any of the charm anymore, because now we're used to kind of stick. And to be fair, Alan is kind of a bit of a jerk in the first half of the film. And then we also got the main problem, though, is Helms' performance. All he really does is just whine and whine throughout the whole movie. He's also quite a big jerk. He's also quite a big jerk in the beginning of the film. Well, I get it kind of makes sense to ditch the bachelor party, but come on. Like, come on. And each scream he does sounds more like nails down on a chalkboard as the film progresses. Just like basically screams and flips out throughout the whole movie. And anyone would just wish that like Cooper would just slap him on his new tattoo. Pete Dixon now. I will admit, is this one of my most hated sequels ever? Well, no, not really, because there's still some redeeming qualities, unlike its 2013 follow-up. There's some redeeming qualities, because there's still some good laughs in this movie. I think there's actually, especially like, there's still Leslie Chow is one of the few saving graces of the film. There's the cigarette smoking monkey is also quite a scene stealer, and also one of the few best parts of the film. There's many, but jokes this one are they go a lot cruder or darker with the jokes in this one. Especially since it's set in a place like Bangkok, which this film actually shows well the dirty, shady areas of a place like that compared to Las Vegas. Although the jokes mainly come from Alan, and mainly at the expense of Stu. Once again, like the first one, now I think the other redeeming quality of this film is probably Phil. I'd say he's probably the best character in the whole trilogy, really. I think he's probably, especially because he's kind of the more smart one of the group and stuff. And Alan's stupidity is actually also kind of the driving force of the comedy. Once it gets to the later half, and there are a few funny bits, including the whole scene of Stu having this demon in him, and probably the funniest part of all. Problem with the Alan character, though, is that they just make him even more stupid over the top. They basically did the whole American Pie franchise thing with Stifler, and now they kind of just did it with Alan, really. It just gets more silly, and it kind of becomes worse rather than better. And, remember when he drugged their drinks with roofies? Well, he actually tried to... This time he drugged something they had again, except it wasn't their drinks. They had these, like, marshmallows near this bonfire that pretty much kick-started their whole crazy night of shenanigans. So... And he made a several bag of marshmallows for Teddy. He basically spiked them with his medication, so that basically, probably hoping Teddy would get lost. Austin will basically happen. So, all in all, Hangover 2, hard watch or easy watch? Well, it's still easy watch, and you'll laugh like a little bit, the anticipation opposed to the comedy of it, and you won't really laugh as much as the first one. Really, this one's not nearly as funny as the first one. I mean, thankfully, Chow does appear more in this movie. After the only few scenes he had in the first one. Then Mike Tyson is back once again in another cringeworthy cameo, which was completely unneeded and basically, but it's not till like the very end of the movie. And then you got a talented actor like Paul Giamatti in a cameo. His talents are literally wasted here. Like seriously, give Paul Giamatti more to do. One of the most talented actors in filmmaking history. Like, come on. So all in all, my verdict: this sequel is just worth like one watch, and that's about it. It's not really like a great movie. It's still better than Part 3, but if you want something that's actually kind of funny, I just watched the first one. So all in all, that's it for my review of Hangover 2, and here's how I'd rank it. I am going to give The Hangover 2 a 5 out of 10. Well, that pretty much wraps up my review for Hangover 2, or just Part 1 set in a different location. Next review is, of course, going to be for none other than the one where things are no longer a comedy, but they do a more original plot. Don't make it a comedy anymore. Make it more some angry, dark thriller. Next review will be this. The one I really don't like. And one I can agree with Cody Leach on, that it absolutely sucks first time I watched it. But anyway, that'll be it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Movie Lover 120.